you are looking at a vintage Ruger Mark II. Inherently, they're very accurate, indeed, even if you have a basic model like this one. It's a beautiful gun. Before we get started here in the video, obviously check it before we get started anyway, but before we get started, a little something interesting about the jack you may not know. Because I work in the gun shop and we do some minor repairs and things like that, and I've had my share in dipping into these guns with having to take them apart and everything, and I am not a fan of Ruger firearms. Yeah, I said it. That's true. I'm not going to deny that their revolvers and their Red Hawks and Black Hawks and the GP 101 series and stuff, they make the strongest revolver I think I've ever felt on the market. Just to give you an example, aside from just my opinion and what I've felt and handled, I've handled quite a few of them coming through the shop and whatnot, but a friend of mine, he had a Black Hawk, and it was a 44 Magnum, and he made a mistake and put a little bit too much gunpowder in the casing in the 44 Magnum load, and he fired it and it went kaboom all right, and it locked up the cylinder and everything. It blew the primer in pieces, and he took a little non-marring punch and a hammer and slowly tapped that cylinder so it would come back out and everything, and you know, it didn't do anything to the gun at all. The gun handled it. And you know, and then same note, when you got ammunition that is basically on a box like 40, I know there's certain 44 Magnum ammunition out there that where the boxes do only shoot in, say, a Ruger Black Hawk, Red Hawk, or a Thompson centerfire firearm. You know that says a lot when you got a company that you know, that is put the name like that. So anyway, all that aside, this is the Ruger Mark II target pistol. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if you're looking for a semi-auto 22 pistol, you definitely should be considering one of these. Now that's a lot for me to say that, because I'm not a fan of Ruger firearms, but I am a fan of these. These are great. I don't know what Ruger does to their guns that is so much different and better than most other 22 firearms, because this gun works. It feeds anything and everything. And this is an older gun. I picked this up from a friend of mine years ago. He's a gun dealer, and I just stumbled across this in his inventory, and I said, hey, man, that's an older one, isn't it? And he said, oh yeah, I believe that's either a Mark II or a Mark I. And he said, no, it's a Mark II because it has the better features than it. So basically, it does have a few features that is better than the Mark I by sure. So I don't think I would have any interest in having a Mark I because of some of the features. But this is the Mark II. It's an older one, and it's got some character. It's worn, but it's kind of a safe queen in a sense. I mean, I do shoot it, but you know, it just kind of sits there. But it's cool because it's all metal construction. You know, and I believe the history on this, when the Ruger company started making these out, I believe it's stamped metal. The majority of this gun is very, you know, they wanted to make it very inexpensive and everything, and they are. And I believe I picked this thing up for a couple $100. They're probably more money now, but it does have the plastic grips with the silver logo on it, you know. And so, yes, it does have the instruction manual printed on the side. I know a lot of people frown on that. The sights are not that great, but you know what, they work. And honestly, the reason I really became interested in this too is because it kind of looks like a Luger. I'm not much into the German stuff, but the Luger is kind of a slick looking gun, and but very expensive to buy and usually jams a lot. At least from my experience with them. I've had a couple of friends that had them, and they just didn't work right. One was actually chambered in .30 Luger, but so that's kind of what attracted me to this. And not only that, actually, if you watch the movie produced by the anti-gun director Richard Donner, the movie Assassins with another anti-gunner, Sylvester Stallone. But they use this gun in that movie. Of course, theirs is the silenced or suppressed versions of it, but that makes it kind of cool, you know. Yeah, and you know, so if you're a big movie buff like myself, you know, you enjoy the movie. That definitely is a cool movie, and it really brandishes this gun a lot in it. The magazine is, you know, just standard magazine. It's got the silver logo on it. That's the original magazine with it. It's got the button. A lot of the complaints too is this button is really, you know, eventually after a day of shooting with it, it does a number on your thumb. You can get an assisted thing that will push it down for you. I do have one. It's a lot better to use on this thing if you're gonna make a day of shooting it. I'm not a big 22 LR shooter myself, so there I don't really take it out much, but when I go out with some of the friends, they kind of like shooting 22s, so we'll break it out every now and then. It does have a heel release magazine, so what that means is it's not like a button here like on most firearms. It's actually a heel release, so in a sense it's not too tactical, but it's part of its nostalgic coolness, I guess you could say. So it kind of goes in at an angle, and the grip angle of the gun is really cool. It fits really nice in the hand. I must say it points really nicely. And so the other thing that's a big complaint about it is the takedown, but this one it is a little easier than versus the newer ones like the Mark III with the magazine disconnect, which a lot of us do not like. So this one you want to make sure you check it, because like a Glock, you have to pull the trigger. Now what I do is, so I don't peck because it is a rimfire, so I don't peck the outside of the chamber there. I actually pull back on this just a slight bit to pull the trigger on it. Now this one here on the back, it doesn't protrude as much as the Mark III, so I must say the Mark III has an advantage over that. That's why I have this little screwdriver tip. You just kind of stick this in there without marring up your gun too bad, and pull that out. Okay. Now if I'll warn you now, I don't know if I'll fumble this on camera right here or not, because I'm not exactly very good at this. I've had my share of kind words, you could say, doing this. Anyway, so you pull this tang out and just pull it on out. Okay, and then now you want to get that. If you look down in there, you want to get the hammer out of the way. The hammer needs to go down so that inside there you're clear. Okay. I don't know if you can actually see it on camera, but now that I pull the trigger, the hammer is in there, you know. So pull the trigger again, the hammer's out of the way. That will obstruct your bolt, and so will this one on the Mark III. The magazine release sometimes gets hung up and stays up, and that will also hang up your process of getting the bolt out. The other process, which I'm not going to do it on camera because it's just kind of a pain. If you want to take the actual receiver off, and for those of you that don't know, the receiver on the Luger Mark series is the top end here. Technically, this is the frame here is not the receiver. The part that is the actual receiver with the serial number is this top end. So that is for you FFL holders, you know that's the actual gun. So you can tap it. I usually have a non-marring hammer, and I'll give it a couple of taps, and this thing will shift off, and then you can take it apart. The bolt is pretty much self-explanatory here. This is the recoil spring. And it just kind of lays right in there. This pin right here, that houses the firing pin that lays right there. There's your extractor and everything like that. So being how old this gun is, it's knock on wood here, it has not had to be replaced of any parts yet. So of course, now that I've said that, I'm gonna have to. Anyway, so to put it back in, you want to make sure that that hammer is out of the way so that your bolt will drop in there. Here we go. Okay, I was just about to say, here we go. Okay, so bolts in there, pull the trigger there and get that hammer. Yep, hammer's out of the way, it's in there. Okay, now there's, again, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on camera. There's a little tang in there. Okay, it's floating around in there, and it's part of the hammer. That needs to sit inside here. Okay, there's a detent spring in there, like a mainspring that needs to put tension on it. That's how the hammer is fired. So when you put this thing back in, again, I don't want to, I hope I don't fumble this right. All right, back with you. You want to make sure that that little tang there is protruding out when you go to lock this in. If you don't, you are going to have a very fun day. Okay, so that little tab in there has got to match up right in here, because that's where the spring is. So you can feel it, kind of give a little tension there before you lock it up. Go ahead and test it. Okay, reset. Okay, it works. I did it right. So anyway, there you can see why I am not a big fan of their stuff. They kind of are finicky and weird in the steps. Now, if you have one of the newer ones with the magazine disconnect, now to obviously play around and shift with that hammer and everything, you're gonna have to put the magazine in, pull the trigger, you know, take the magazine out, do that, and then, you know, put the magazine back in, drop the hammer back down, etc. So that's also what makes it kind of a pain in the behind. But this one's not too bad because it doesn't have the magazine disconnect, so it takes out one of the steps that I get confused with. Now, that's just me. I mean, there could be a lot of other people that they can do that in their sleep. A friend of mine that I bought this gun from, he's a big fan of these guns, and he can do it just like no problem. So anyway, but it is a good gun. It's very accurate. It shoots really well, and it feeds just about any ammo you can throw at it. And so it's a sexy gun, I can say that too. That's why I hung on to it, and I will continue hanging on to it. So I just wanted to bring that to you guys, show it off a little bit, and a review tabletop up close and personal with this baby. Had it for quite some time, so I don't think it has made an appearance on the channel, but now it has. So anyway, there it is, the Ruger Mark II 22 target gun, kind of the Luger looking gun, right? Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll check you guys next time. I'm the Jack. I'm signing out.